Congratulations! You just had an election. Are you happy? Now, you and me are going to take a look at Project 2025, and more precisely, a chapter called The Conservative Promise. This chapter is important since it laid down the ideological foundation of the whole book. But more importantly, it's a promise, and like a famous cult leader said, promise made, promise kept. Now, maybe you are wondering why a foreigner is so invested in your election. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, it's none of his business. An understandable statement, but I will answer you with an image of every USA military bases around the world. Now, let's begin.
The Conservative Promise is written by Kevin D. Roberts. We learned that this book is the product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from across the conservative movement around the United States. It is also said that this book is an agenda prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day one of the next administration to save the country from the brink of disaster.
The brink of disaster that they are talking about is of course not the inevitable fall of the American empire due to the inherent contradiction of capitalism. No, it's about scary transgender people and young people making TikTok about not liking genocide. During this video, we will look at ridiculous statements made in this section of Project 2025 and answer them with actual information. These policy experts came up with 4 promises. The most surprising thing about these promises is not the content itself, but the fact that these authors can count past 3. As for the actual content of these promises, don't worry. We are going to dive in an ocean of imaginary threats, cultural purity fantasy, and cognitive dissonance. So now, let's jump to promise number 1.
Promise number 1. Restore the family as centerpiece of American life and protect our children.
This chapter starts with an already misleading sentence, which is
40% of all children are born to unmarried mother, and is then followed by fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide, substance abuse, rejection of the church.
Oh no, not the rejection of the church.
And high school dropouts.
The vicious implication of this segment is that unmarried woman equal fatherless child.
However, if we look at the USA Census Bureau in 2023, 20.9% of children were fatherless, not 40%.
Therefore, we can, right off the bat, conclude that no, being unmarried does not equal being fatherless.
Interesting fact too, on the 20.9% fatherless child figure, 10.3% come from parents that were married at a certain point in time.
When we look at these numbers, it's almost like it's not the fault of unmarried woman. It's almost like being married or not is not a root cause for fatherlessness. But why implying that it is? Because every occasion to tell women that their place is in a marriage, cooking and procreating as much as their man-child husband tell them to, is a step in the right direction for them. And the right direction for these retards is Christo-Fascism.
R-word alert. R-word alert.
If you think the R word is too harsh, if you think it is not okay to use it, fuck you. That's because you didn't read what I read in this weird far-right conservative porn fiction. But maybe you will accept the word retard after I show you the definition that I use.
To make slow, delay the development or progress of an action, process, etc., hinder or impede. And speaking about porn, I want to thanks to the sponsor Pornhub.
Christo-Fascists hate pornography so much that they want to ban it. The excuse is always the same, to protect the children. But for them, pornography extends itself to sexual orientation and its expression. For example, a straight couple kissing in public. Whatever. A gay couple kissing in public. They're actually groomers who want to make your 6-month-old son pregnant.
They even believe that porn manifests itself in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology, whatever that is, and that the so-called ideology sexualizes children.
But what if I told you that the marriage institution is the one that sexualizes children? You don't believe me?
Between the year 2000 and 2015, 200,000 minors were married in the USA, but no big deal. Them trying to demonize LGBTQ plus people and calling them predators is nothing new. In the late 40s, a certain Dr. Carlton viewed men who participated in homosexual acts as psychopathic and predatory prostitutes.
Predatory prostitutes. Other than the fact that it sounds more like a kink than a sin, we can see a pattern here of calling LGBTQ plus people of being predators. In the late 40s, they were called predator prostitutes. Today, they are called groomers. The moral panic that gay people had to undergo in the 40s is done by the same kind of people today
R-word alert.
to transgender people. And gay people still.
If we have to learn something about this short segment, it's this.
For Christo-Fascists, LGBTQ plus people and porn are the same thing. So when they push to ban porn, they are actually preparing the legislative terrain to ban LGBTQ plus people from public life. The main goal down the line would be to outright criminalize them in the name of protecting the children
From a scientifically disproved threat.
Since these Christo-Fascists hate learning new things because they are too busy being angry at new things, they will make up their lack of knowledge with arrogance. Kevin Roberts and his arrogance tries to talk about big tech. For him, another way of protecting the children would be to limit said big tech.
Quote, the worst of these companies prey on children like drugs dealers to get them addicted to their mobile apps. End quote.
Other than the fact that this segment was clearly written by a 19-year-old individual, he still has a good point, but not for the reason he thinks. You see, if you want to protect the children, you have to forbid
Boomers to use the internet in general. Children do not genuinely share shitty AI-generated picture of Trump saving Seven Fingers family dogs from a flood. Boomers do. How would it protect children? Old people are the highest voting turnout group in the USA.
By forbidding them to go on social media, there will be less chance for them to fall for conspiracy theory like QAnon, weather control machine, fake stolen election, etc. By not falling for these fantasies, maybe they will be able to keep touch with reality. Then, children will be safe, growing in a world where lunatics do not make decisions on policies and society as a whole. Lastly, in order to protect children, we should avoid this book completely.
Here's why. In the first paragraph of the 6th page, it says, quote, conservatives should ardently pursue this pro-life family policy while recognizing the many women who find themselves in immensely difficult and often tragic situation and the heroism of every choice to be a mother.
So for a child, victim of rape and pregnant, her fate is forced childbirth. But don't worry, these psychos recognize the tragic situation. If you are 11 years old and pregnant, you're not a victim, you're a hero. Now, let's see what the next promise will bring to us.
Promise number 2. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people.
As the name suggests, the root of all evil in this section is the state. Project 2025 aims at reducing its size and scope back to what the Constitution intended, whatever that means. This way, the conservative would restore popular sovereignty to the American people.
The author then quoted Donald Reagan when he said, there are no easy answers, but there are simple answers.
This quote doesn't work though, because A, it's Reagan who says it, and B, I already found an answer to this riddle. So, the simple solution for popular sovereignty, popular vote. The easy solution for popular sovereignty, popular vote. Why?
63% of Americans would prefer to see the winner of the presidential election be the person who wins the most vote nationally. Strangely, in this study, we can see that 80% of Democrats are in favor of removing the Electoral College, while only 46% of Republicans are in favor of removing it. So why does the Republican want to keep it? Is it because generally Democrats win the popular vote?
If the conservatives are the one who fight for popular sovereignty, why are they against popular vote? Is it because it would make them lose more often? But in that case, it would be democracy anyway, right?
And last question, why these idiots hate democracy?
If you are a liberal or a leftist, congrats for finding a new apartment since you live rent-free in the mind of the people working for the Heritage Foundation.
I'll prove it to you by quoting the book directly. Bring the administrative state to heel and in the process defang and defund the woke culture warriors who have infiltrated every last institution in America. One has to wonder, what the f is woke about the administrative state in the USA? Clearly, Biden was permanently unawake since he is a sleepwalking corpse not able to realize that the funny little fairies cracking jokes in front of him are not his new friends but a symptom of his cognitive decline. Some would even dare to say that financing directly a genocide with billions of dollars is not a lefty wokey thing to do. Now, let's address a list of issues that the administrative state is responsible for according to Kevin Roberts.
Since these issues are not grounded in reality and are the result of lead poisoning, I will try to explain them as concisely as possible and with a minimum of intellectual effort. So, here they are.
First issue, a combination of elected and unelected bureaucrats at the Environmental Protection Agency quietly strangles domestic energy production through difficult to understand rulemaking processes. Explanation.
They don't want environmental regulation since they do not believe in climate change. God will save them or something like that.
Second issue, bureaucrats at the Department of Homeland Security, following the lead of a feckless administration, order Border and Immigration Enforcement Agency to help migrants criminally enter our country with impunity. Explanation.
No, they don't. Not actively killing illegal migrant is not making them purposefully crossing the border. Not killing illegal migrant is in fact not only respecting the international law, but also making you not an inhuman piece of shit.
Third issue, bureaucrats at the Department of Education inject racist, anti-American, hysterical propaganda into America's classrooms. Explanation.
For them, recognizing the genocide of the native population is anti-American propaganda and hysterical. They prefer the version where white European settlers ask native nicely to leave their ancestral land, which they accept because it's part of their culture to be so nice, I guess. While we're at it, who you think discovered America? A. Christopher Columbus? B. A random Viking? Is your answer Christopher Columbus?
You are wrong, you fucking idiot. Natives discovered the Americas. They are called natives. Fourth issue, bureaucrats at the Department of Justice force school districts to undermine girls' sport and parents' rights to satisfy transgender extremists. Explanation.
The author lacks biology knowledge and is high on fentanyl.
Fifth issue, woke bureaucrats at the Pentagon force troops to attend training seminars about white privilege. Explanation. The Tulsa Massacre in 1921, perpetrated by a white mob, police officers, and National Guards, destroyed a thriving black neighborhood. 300 people have died and 800 were wounded. The city of Philadelphia bombed its own black citizen in 1985.
So yes, a little bit of awareness is the minimum.
Sixth issue, bureaucrats at the State Department infuse US foreign aid programs with woke extremism about intersectionality and abortion. Explanation.
These authors do not know the meaning of words. Being a black lesbian woman is not extremism. Bombing clinic is extremism. Gunning down a group of people in a gay club is extremism.
Additionally, in the sixth issue, intersectionality and abortion are presented as if only a fringe extremist segment of the population supports them. However, when you look at polls, 64% of Americans are strongly in favor of policies that protect trans people from discrimination. As for abortion, 63% of Americans are in favor of it.
In fact, these fascists seems to be constantly against the majority's interests. For example, 77% of Americans want to prioritize renewable energies over fossil fuel. 58% want stricter gun laws. 60% want healthcare coverage for all, etc.
These facts are important because 2 paragraphs later, the author says, the next conservative president must possess the courage to relentlessly put the interests of the everyday American over the desire of the ruling elite. End quote.
Considering the American views cited earlier, and by this writer's own words, the next conservative president should protect trans people, protect the right to abortion, push towards clean energies, enact stricter gun laws, make healthcare for all available, etc. And all of this in order to protect the interests of the everyday American.
Kevin just did a 360 no-scope into his own contradictions and he is advocating for a woke president. But enough with the second promise though, let's see what the third one is. Promise number 3. Defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats.
The following part will demonstrate that holding a baby the correct way is important, since the author's mother seems to have rocked him too close of a wall, leaving him permanently brain damaged. Kevin Roberts, the author of the 4 Promises, is both a writer and an intellectual, but seems unable to write sentences that has meaning. I will show it to you with a direct quote from him.
Progressive elites speak in lofty terms about openness, progress, expertise, cooperation, and globalization, but too often these terms are just rhetorical Trojan horses concealing their true intention, stripping we the people of our constitutional authority over our country's future. This sentence literally means nothing and everything at the same time. Watch this as I, too, can use lofty terms. For example,
the word freedom, God, and Constitution are Trojan horses from the conservative to strip we the people of our constitutional authority over our country's future.
Unlike Kevin, though, I will back up my empty sentence. The obligation to teach God in schools, the freedom to work as a literal child in dangerous factories, and the constitutional right for a president to do crime while in power.
We just established that Kevin can't use words. Now, the next question would be, can't he use his brain? Well, the next segment will show us that no, he cannot.
Let's start this next segment with another quote from him. Those who run our so-called American corporations have bent to the wield of the woke agenda and care more for their foreign investors and organizations than their American workers and customers.
Kevin, my sweet summer child, the only goal of a corporation is endless growth. And for growth, a corporation would kill
their own workers, they did, use slavery if it was legal, they did and still doing it, and destroy entire ecosystems until human life is impossible. They are doing it.
So if pandering to the youth and their progressive views is a benefit for them, then they will do it. And it's called the free market, baby. You have a problem with that, Kevin? Are you a filthy commie, Kevin? Between you and me, Kevin, basic self-awareness is as foreign to you as workers' welfare is for them. There is nothing more American than offshoring your factory in a country where salaries and workers' conditions are non-existent, only to maximize your profit margin.
A bit further in the same paragraph, our friend Kevin says that Wall Street hedge fund managers has more in common with a socialist European head of state than with parents at a high school football game in Waco, Texas.
I will not say that this statement is the result of Kevin's brain damage, since it's becoming repetitive. Although Kevin would not be aware of the repetitiveness of a joke, since he suffers from short-term memory loss due to his brain damage.
I will try to explain to him slowly why his sentence is stupid. A Wall Street hedge fund manager is not even 1% a socialist. Wall Street, as a whole, is an antithesis of communism and socialism. It buys labor surplus value that it does not own nor produce to sell it for profit.
My explanation is basic, I know, but maybe we should get together on Kickstarter and fund a coloring book teaching words and concepts for Kevin. We could even call this book Mentally Challenge Kevin, with colors and words.
Anyway, the author goes on about the progressive left supporting open borders because they seek to purge the very concept of nation state, no matter how much crime increase or resource drop for schools and hospitals or wage decreases for the working class. I don't know if Kevin is aware, but crime decreased in 2024. For example, murder decreased by 22.7%, rape by 17.7%, etc. I don't know if Kevin is aware, but the number one reason for the lack of resources for schools and hospitals is the Republican Party. As for the myth of wage decrease due to illegal immigration, I would just have one question. Who hired these people for inhuman salary? Maybe the problem is not the migrant themselves, but the gals who exploit their precariousness. Speaking of gals and exploitation, our friend Kevin writes, environmental extremism is decisively anti-human. Stewardship and conservation are supplanted by population control and economic regression.
First thing first, I don't know what Kevin mean when he talked about population control, but I know that he seriously needs to either stop taking drugs or start taking them. Secondly, Kevin seems unaware that capitalism cannot do otherwise but to expand. Growth for the sake of growth is the same logic as cancer, which in itself is anti-human. Kevin, do you know what is not anti-human? Breathable air, food, in general, livable temperature, etc.
What is anti-human, though, is the fourth promise of this brain rot chapter. And brain rot, dive in, we will. Promise number 4. Secure our God-giving individual right to enjoy the blessing of liberty.
If you are interested in general delusion or effortless reinterpretation of founding documents of the United States, then look no further, because Kevin got you covered.
Indeed, and the first paragraph of the fourth promise, he writes, when the founders spoke of pursuit of happiness, what they meant might be understood today as an essence, pursuit of blessedness.
If you are interested in knowing why it can be reinterpreted as blessedness, well, it is because Kevin and his virgin evangelical friends are Christo-Fascists. It means that they will attempt at every possible occasion to alter the secular nature of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, or any other official documents, to further a religious grip on every legal aspect of the system, and therefore on every aspect of the citizens' lives.
Kevin wants you to believe that religious devotion and spirituality are the greatest sources of happiness around the world. Of course, this statement is false.
It's a total fabrication.
If we look at this Ipsos study on happiness around the world, the top 5 sources of happiness are health, children, relationship with your partner, sense of meaning, and sense of security. Another interesting data for these evangelicals freaks is that having a good sex life is a source of happiness for 74% of people, but religious and spiritual well-being is a source of happiness for only 57% of the people.
It is funny because we just caught Kevin saying random nonsense. Again, but it's not funny because we also know that priests and other religious groups also care a lot about their sex life. Speaking of these religious fundamentalists, here's a study that links religious fundamentalism attitudes with brain damage.
Of course, it wouldn't be a fascist right-wing manifesto without a good old patriotic United States #1 statement, like here, where Kevin says the United States remain the most innovative and upwardly mobile society in the world. Unfortunately for Kevin, the World Economic Forum, which, as you know, is not a commie organization, disagree with him, since they rank the USA 27th globally for upward mobility.
But it's okay. We already established that Kevin is a fucking idiot, so we cannot be mad at him. Kevin seems to confuse an imaginary ideal of his country and seems incapable of dealing with the fact that the US empire is collapsing on itself. In the same way, this video is about to collapse too, since it's time for the conclusion.
The 4 conservative promises are only 15 pages out of 864, but these promises are the foundation of the whole book. As we saw, they are not grounded in reality. These intellectuals wrote almost 900 pages based on fear, delusion, and religious fundamentalism. It is, at worst, a weird Christo-Fascist roleplay board game instruction manual, and at best, a fascist manifesto. Good luck for the next 4 years and beyond.
Before you go, please remember to not like this video, don't subscribe, and get the fuck out of my face.
Because he's human, a man would like a little bite to eat. He won't get full on a lot of talk that would give him bread and